Good morning, I am Tracy Spence with your newscast. This newscast is brought to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, the key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. And Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. Now for the news in details. Jamaica's opposition leader, Dr. Peter Phillips, has decided not to fill the vacancy in the Senate, saying it should be up to his successor to do so. In a statement on Tuesday, Dr. Phillips said with 3 weeks to go before he demits office, he does not intend to appoint a new senator following the decision by businessman Norman Horn to forego his appointment to the upper house. Mr. Horn announced last weekend that he would not take the oath to become a senator so that the new opposition leader would have a free hand to appoint senators. Mr. Horn was one of 8 senators appointed by Dr. Phillips on September 14. However, he was not sworn in last month as he was in quarantine. People's National Party (PNP) presidential hopefuls Lisa Hanna and Mark Golden yesterday signed a code of conduct signaling their commitment to clean and ethical campaigning in the process to elect a new leader for the 82-year-old political party. At the signing ceremony, which was attended by current PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips and other senior members of the party, both Hanna and Golden promised to adhere to the guidelines of the Code of Conduct and also expressed their commitment to supporting each other after the election, regardless of the outcome. Meanwhile, Cuba relaxed coronavirus restrictions on Monday in hopes of boosting its economy, allowing shops and government offices to reopen and welcoming locals and tourists at airports across the island except in Havana. Face masks and social distancing remain mandatory, although authorities will no longer isolate those who have been in contact with suspected cases as the island returns to a semblance of normalcy. The changes come after officials acknowledged the need to reactivate an economy hit by pandemic restrictions and recent sanctions that the U.S. has imposed as President Donald Trump seeks votes from the anti-Castro Cuban Americans ahead of the general election. The island of more than 11 million people has reported some 6,000 coronavirus cases and more than 120 deaths from COVID-19 since March, with the government credited with swiftly identifying and isolating cases and implementing house-to-house visits. The Nurses Association of Jamaica (NAJ) is calling on the government to employ more local nurses before seeking nurses from other countries. President of the NAJ, Patsy Edwards Henry, told reporters that although nurses have been employed by the Ministry of Health recently, the employment percentage is low in comparison to the number of graduates. Speaking at the Ministry of Health and Wellness Staff Welfare Program launch last Tuesday, Dr. Christopher Tufton said that the ministry will reach out to the Cuban government for additional nurses. Mistress Edwards Henry is emphasizing that she is not against the employment of Cuban nurses, however she is urging the government to make Jamaican nurses a priority. She added that there is a cultural barrier between the countries. Mistress Edward Henry noted that local nurses are not getting enough opportunity to work in their area of study. The NAJ president said that this issue was not created by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. She elaborated that with the outbreak of the pandemic, more nurses should have been employed. And that is it for the news. This newscast came to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, the key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. And Cruising with the Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. On behalf of the news and production team, I am Tracy Spence. To have a good morning.